So I just finished watching the Uzumaki anime adaptation. Look, you guys have read the title. I'm just gonna get straight to the point. It sucked, and I really, really wish this was the one that didn't suck. So if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, let me get you guys up to speed. There is a legendary manga, a horror manga called Uzumaki. Now this is, I would say, probably one of the most well-known horror manga in the modern day. It is created by none other than the father of horror manga, Ito Junji. I am a personal massive fan of all of his works. I own almost every single one of his works physically in manga form. And Uzumaki is definitely up there as one of my favorite short stories that he has created, or I guess long stories if you think about it in the catalog of Junji Ito. And back in 2019 at Crunchyroll Expo, they announced that they were finally going to make a Uzumaki anime adaptation, which a lot of Junji Ito fans and just a lot of anime fans in general were very, very hyped about. I was hyped as hell when I especially saw the first trailer of it, because unlike all of the other Junji Ito adaptations that have, let's be real, have all been really crap, this one looked so promising. Unlike all of the other Junji Ito anime adaptations, they just went completely one-to-one with Ito Junji's very distinct art style, even so much as making it black and white, just like the manga. Which, you know, a lot of people have said, including myself, have echoed this point, that that was one of the biggest problems with Ito Junji's anime adaptations, is that the moment you add color to any of his stuff, it immediately decreases the spooky factor by about 10 to 20 times or so. So clearly production IG USA, Adult Swim, and their in-house production team Williams Street heard all of those cries from the Ito Junji fans and went, hey, you know what? Let's just turn it black and white. Let's go as one-to-one with the art style as possible with this Uzumaki adaptation. There is so much at stake here because this is one of the most beloved horror manga in today's industry. So we really have to make sure we don't do another terrible Junji Ito adaptation. Spoiler alert, they did. Oh my god, what an insane downfall this is. Like, this fall off needs to be studied, my boys. So I literally just finished watching the last episode today because it came out this morning. Mind you, there was only 4 episodes of this, so it's very easy to digest. Like, you could watch this whole thing in like a matter of hours. And you know, I talked about it very, very briefly in a Trash Taste episode, I believe. At that point, I had only watched the first episode of Uzumaki, and I think I can speak on behalf of everybody when they say that they really had us in the first half. Or I guess in this case, they had us in the first quarter. Because my god, episode 1 was just everything we were hoping for. At least in terms of the visual aspect, it was everything that we wanted in a Junji Ito anime adaptation. The animation was so precise and so fluid, and so much like character to all of the movements and the different animation work, even though the entire thing is in black and white. So with this pristine animation, as thanks to Production IG USA and Williams Street Productions, we managed to get a very convincing first episode, and then everything started going downhill from episode 2. In fact, I would go as far as to say that episode 1 was genuinely like pretty good. Like, if I had to rate the episode, if I had to rate it episode to episode, episode 1 I would probably give it like a good maybe like 7 or 8 out of 10. It wasn't a perfect episode, and I'll get to that later in the video. But then episode 2 onwards literally dropped to like a 2 or a 3 out of 10 if I would have put it on any numerical scale. Because my god, what the hell happened to the animation? I mean, if you guys have been on like Twitter or any kind of social media, you probably saw so many memes coming out of especially episode 2, because it truly was hilarious. And you know, there are times when Junji Ito's works are hilarious. The contents of episode 2, however, in context of the story of Uzumaki, definitely not that. I mean, it really is true when people were comparing, especially episode 2's art change to, some people were saying it looks like they just took the game Facade and turned it in black and white. I'm sorry if that's the first time you're seeing this meme, because you're never going to be able to unsee it. The scene where the kids are running across the beach is probably the worst animation I've seen in a very, very long time, and it's just even more obvious, especially when it came right after episode 1. But I would like to throw a little bit of a curveball in my review of the Uzumaki anime and not just go on for the next 10-15 minutes shitting on the crappy animation, because obviously it goes without saying that's what all the memes were all about. Now, if anything, I would like to argue that the biggest problem with this Uzumaki adaptation didn't start from episode 2. It was there from episode 1 in spades. People who produced this anime, directed this anime, I don't know, whoever was responsible for this anime adaptation, just missed one crucial thing that could have made this anime actually scary. You might have noticed this if you had watched all 4 episodes, but the first thing that I pointed out, at least in my analysis when even watching episode 1, was me saying to myself, damn, they're really, like, flying through this plot. Yes, they did nail the visual side of Junji Ito's very distinct art style, but they didn't let it fester. They didn't let it build in any way. Everything just felt really, really rushed. Because one thing that makes Junji Ito's manga especially so impactful and so creepy and spooky is that with manga, you can read it at your own pace. You can stay on a particular panel for as long as you'd like while you admire the amazingly talented art style that is set before you. And especially in the case with Junji Ito, where a lot of his horror is very, very visual because it deals in things like body dysmorphia and macabre horror, which is very heavily dependent on the visual side of things. With a manga, you can let it sit there, you can let it fester, you can let the atmosphere build up. But when you try and convert that to an anime side of things, because anime is limited to how much time you have per episode, and if you only have a limited number of episodes you need to make, in this case, 4 episodes, which really isn't a lot of time if you think about it, then you don't really give yourself enough room to build up that atmosphere. You don't give yourself enough time to really let the atmosphere cook into the minds of the viewers. You can show one scary thing that is happening in the anime with all of the sound effects and the voice acting and the animation and the music. You can add all of that, but if you don't give people enough time to not only let it sink in to what they are seeing and what they're experiencing, and give them enough time to prepare them for the reveal, then it doesn't really end up being scary. It just kind of feels like a really cheap jump scare. Because another genius thing that makes Ito Junji's manga especially so good, in my opinion, is that he is the absolute master at what we call the page turn. Essentially, he takes 2 pages that you are currently reading right now to build up to some kind of reveal, and then when you flip the page, it is usually the first thing that you see. The terrible body horror, dysmorphia, macabre horror that Junji Ito is so good at just pops out when you flip the page, and that's what gives you the heebie-jeebies when you're reading his works. Again, it's very difficult to replicate that page turn feel when you're so rushed with timing, and I seriously have no idea why they decided to only do 4 episodes, because considering how much they were rushing through and just blatantly cutting out some bits from the manga, I honestly think if they had taken the time again to build up that atmosphere, build up that creepiness, then I think they could have easily done 6, maybe even like 10 or so episodes. Although, yes, it is based on a relatively short story. I mean, in the manga, Uzumaki is only about 2 volumes worth, if you think about it, which is not a lot of time, but again, if the production decided to really take the time to build up that atmosphere and believe in the viewer's patience to stick around with that atmosphere, then I think it could have ended up becoming a lot more of a creepy experience to watch, rather than just something that people are just laughing and joking about now, because, again, we had so much potential. They took, what? It was like 6 or 7 years to produce this damn thing. And look, I completely understand the whole thing. Apparently, the director was saying that there was some like massive production issues during the whole thing that basically gave themselves this ultimatum of like, well, we either release it as is or don't release it at all. Well, you know, I'm just gonna say, maybe you should have kept it in the drafts, bro. Because I think this is just further proven to Junji Ito fans that we're never going to get a good anime adaptation. It's just not going to happen. If they fucked it up with this one, where everything was lined up perfectly, and then they fumbled the bag in such an embarrassing way. I just don't see how they can recover from that, to be honest. Like, how do you try to, where do you go from there? Like, look, I completely understand that when you read the Uzumaki manga, it is pretty ridiculous. And the you know, like a lot of Junji Ito stories, the story and the themes and everything is very open-ended. It's supposed to not make all that much sense because it relies on the absolutely absurd visuals with the creepy atmosphere that it portrays itself in the manga. Don't get me wrong, you nailed the visuals. At least in episode 1, you were really nailing the visuals, but you completely missed the bag on the creepy atmosphere. You can't make just one of them work. You need to make both of them work. Because otherwise, you end up with, yes, visually a very one-to-one representation of Junji Ito's, again, distinct manga art style, but you don't have any kind of atmosphere or pressure to build up to with these visuals. Again, you just end up having a black and white facade looking animation, which it just now looks hilarious in retrospect. So yeah, that was my, I guess, review of the Uzumaki manga. Bottom line, man, we just can't get a W. All I wanted was for this to be just even like decent. You know, because when you compare it to, like, say, the Junji Ito collection, or the, God forbid, the Gyo movie, if any of you guys have seen that before. If you have seen it, then, respect to you, my brother. We fought through that war. Like, compared to his older works, you know, this is, I guess, in some respect, better, but it's really not that much of an improvement. I would honestly even argue that in terms of the building up of atmosphere, the Junji Ito collection adaptation might have actually done it better than the Uzumaki anime. But again, you can't make one work and the other one not work. You need both of them to work out. That's what makes Junji Ito's manga Junji Ito manga. That's what makes his stuff so prominent in the manga industry. That's what makes his work so unique and loved by so many people who have read his works. And if anything now, this Uzumaki anime has just, I think, proved to me and every Junji Ito fan out there that, you know what, maybe we shouldn't give it another go. Maybe we should just leave it with the manga. That was my review. If you guys have seen the Uzumaki anime, let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments below. How do you think they could have improved it? What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? What's your favorite meme that came out of it? Love to know all of that. But hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack my face right here, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep making big channel number go bigger. Over here next to my head, a couple more videos you can check out. If you enjoyed this one, links to my social media, as well as my Patreon to support me directly, and Nonsense, my clothing brand. We have an upcoming sale, by the way. You might want to keep your eyes out. Follow us on our socials, links in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.